it.
Yeah.
Good evening, and welcome to the City of Lowell Planning Board meeting for Monday, May 15th, 2006. Tonight, we do have two scheduled public hearings. Due to the fact of the state of the emergency and the inclement weather, we have talked to people today. We made an administrative decision to continue both of those public hearings. Therefore, we can afford the applicant as well as any of the people from the public if they'd like to come down and speak on this behalf. So the two matters that were scheduled for public hearing are going to be continued to our June 5th date. Those two matters that were scheduled for public hearing, the first one was a site plan, which is 975 Bonham Ave. Most people would know that address as the Duval Manor Elderly Housing Complex. So that matter will be continued to June 5th, 06, here at 7 o'clock. The next matter that was scheduled for public hearing was 378 Gorham Street, which is by Drake Petroleum Company. That is the Sunoco gas station that's located on Gorham Street, right next to the Lowell Superior Court. So that hearing will also be continued to June 5th. That way the applicant can come forward and any of the people in the city of Lowell want to come forward and speak instead of being inconvenienced tonight due to the fact of the state of the emergency, as I stated, and the fact that people being evacuated from their homes. We thought it would be a wise decision to continue those public hearings to a future date so we could get all the public input for the people who may be affected by those projects. Therefore, those two matters have been continued to 6-5. If any of the viewers have any questions, they can call here, the planning and development number, and they can explain what that date would be on for the date as I indicated. Therefore, we're going to go back to the regular agenda. At this point in time, we have the minutes of 3 previous meetings. The first one, I'll take each minutes requested separately. The first one would be the approval of the minutes from March 20th, 2006. Does any of the board members have any corrections?
Mr. Chairman, I have one correction under March 20th minutes. Under members present, my name is not included on that list,
Okay.
and it should be. That's all.
I have no questions or corrections, Mr. Chairman.
Jim, I have one minor one. I think it was just a typo on page 3, about more than halfway down when it says George Zalulis. I think the word should be thank. I want to, I think the word was just a typo, should be thank you for taking the initiative for having someone review the wetlands. So I think that was just a minor typo. Besides that, I have no corrections on the minutes. I think they were very well done, and I want to thank Mr. Erickson for that. At this point in time, may I have a motion to the acceptance of the minutes thereof?
I make a motion to accept the March 20th board minutes.
Second?
All those in favor? Chair votes yes, and the vote is 3-0 to accept those minutes. The next set of minutes that are on for approval for tonight would be the Monday, April 3rd, 2006. This was a joint public hearing. Oh, no, that's the next one, I'm sorry. That's the April 18th, okay. No, this is the April 3rd public hearing from the planning board. I just have one minor correction. Jim, on page 4, fourth paragraph down, where it says myself. Now we look at the two issues. I said, one was the site plan and the special permit. I said that we have to consider all the notes from the last meetings, all the materials in the packet, all the comments from the cities, and I think I also said, and all those persons who have spoke. Okay. I know from the previous meeting in the present meeting, I think I said that. If I didn't, I know I meant to say that, but I think my memory served me that I did say that. So that's the only correction I have. Any of the board members have any other corrections to the April 3rd?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
I have none.
Have a motion in regards to accepting those minutes, please, then?
I'll make a motion to accept the April 3rd minutes as amended.
Thank you.
Second?
Second. Chair votes yes. Those minutes are accepted as amended. Thank you. And the other one is the April 18th. This is the one I misspoke on a minute ago. This was the joint public hearing when we met here with the city council meeting. This was the one that was on the new zoning amendments. And the board voted in favor of accepting those proposals of that night for the amended zoning amendments. Anybody satisfied with those minutes?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to make a motion to accept those?
Make a motion to accept the minutes of April 18th.
Thank
Second
you.
the
Second.
motion.
Chair votes yes, those minutes have accepted. Therefore, those previous 3 minutes have been accepted. Moving along on the new business, we have what's known as an approval not required, which stands for an A&R plan, which is 2 Bradley Street and 15 East Durand Street. The board will discuss an A&R plan request by Mr. Raymond Chanel for property located at 2 Bradley and 15 East Durand Street. Can we hear for...
Mr.
People in
Chairman,
favor,
members
yeah.
of the board, James Flood, 81 Bridge Street, Lowell, Mass. I delivered that plan to the planning department last week for endorsement, and as far as I'm concerned, it meets all the requirements. Now, evidently, this was before your board at some prior time when it was discussed by Mr. Chanel. And one of the proposed lots has a 3-family house on it, and based on that, I guess you people decided not to endorse that plan. From my reading of 81P, I don't think that zoning has anything to do with it. As long as the lots meet the required frontage for the zone, they should be approved. But I just want to let you know that I have submitted a petition to the Board of Appeals, and it will be on the agenda next Monday night. It is to allow the maintenance of the existing building, to reduce it from 3 to 2 on that undersized lot now. And I'll state to this board that if that is denied, and we hope it isn't, then the developers will either tear down the building or convert it to one zone. But I think based on 81P, the plan that was submitted meets the requirements. It should be signed. It's important that it's signed because the financing for the prospective purchases is based on 5 lots. So I was not involved the last time this was before your board, but I'm glad to answer. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Flood. Any questions or comments from board members?
I have one question. Did you say that there's a one undersized lot here?
No, they're all over 10,000 square feet.
Yeah, okay, I didn't think
But
so.
under the zoning, if we're reducing it to a 2-family from a 3,
Oh,
technically,
there.
they could
Okay.
say they require 20,000 square feet. But it's similar, all the lots are similar to everything in the neighborhood. I mean, like I said, if they require that the building be torn down, it'll be torn down. But it's important that this plan be signed, and I think it meets all the statutory requirements for endorsement. So I'd ask that the board would act favorably on it.
Okay. Joe, anything you would comment or concerns at this time?
Just a question, Mr. Flood. You were saying that if you don't get the variance to maintain what's there now as a 2-family,
Right.
you'd be tearing that down and building a single
Or
family?
converting it to a 1-family.
Or converting it to
Yeah.
a 1-family?
Yeah.
Okay. I have no other comments. I think the plan does meet the requirements of the A&R statute, so I'd have no problem with the endorsement. We make no assessment in terms of the zoning, you know, and as far as an endorsement on the A&R plan. So I have no other comments.
Jim, anything from planning and development that you want to bring to our attention, or?
Just regarding this site, basically what Mr. Flood said is, from what I understand, correct. This meets all the statutory requirements. It was in front of the board in the past, which is why we wanted to bring it back in front of the board, because at that time, I guess the board decided to vote against the signing of this, or did not agree. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but essentially, from our perspective, it does meet the legal requirements or the legal statutory requirements of an A&R plan. We do feel that we are required to sign it from a department perspective. We wanted to make sure that the board saw it again since the first time it was in front of you. However, just to note again for the record that each unit in the proposed, it is a proposed 3-family, so from a zoning perspective, it would require 30,000 square feet unless a variance was granted, or if it's a 2-family, it would require 20,000 square feet unless a variance was granted. Without the variance, then they would be required to continue to have the 10,000 square feet per dwelling unit. So I just wanted to throw that to the board, just so you know that as well.
But I think the board will agree that's a building department decision on the zoning.
Correct. And it's not preventing us from signing this A&R plan, but from it doesn't necessarily mean that all of these lots are considered buildable. It just means that they are subdivided as seen on this plan, but they aren't necessarily buildable because the required amount of not open space, the required amount of lot area per dwelling unit will still need to be met as per the zoning ordinance.
Just a couple of comments I have. Just so the viewers understand what an A&R plan is, that stands for approval not required, which means the board does not have a say in the matter, as long as the applicant does meet the 10,000 required square feet, which happens to be in this zone, and in this zone, it is the 10,000, so if it was another zone, they have to meet the zonage square footage requirement, and they have to have frontage on a public way, and in this case, all the lots do have frontage on a public way. When I first looked at the plan, my first question was it a subdivision? And reading the plan in more in detail, I did note that there was a subdivision, and this subdivision took place back, 19, it's on the plan here, if I can find it again. I know it was very old. May 1857.
57, yeah.
So I knew it was very old. So my first question was, with those 5 lots divided up, would it be in a subdivision? And by reading the plan more thoroughly, and the print's a little small, I do remember reading it, so therefore, it did have a adequate subdivision, and that was done properly. So I do know that in our packet tonight, on regards to the zoning board of appeals matter, we do have a question as to lot 2, which is coming before us, which is on whether we recommend that lot be given a variance, and we will cover that when we get to the zoning board of appeals matters.
Right.
So as far as the A&R plan is concerned, I believe it's the consensus of the board that the applicant has the right to submit this A&R plan to the DPD staff to be signed off. Okay?
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Do we need a motion for that, Mr. Chairman? I'd make that as a motion that we endorse this as an A&R plan.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair votes yes, therefore we vote to endorse the A&R plan that is approved under the law. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep that plan handy, we'll need it again shortly.
Yes, right.
The next matter on the agenda, we have a pre-application session. The following individuals have requested that the planning board to provide preliminary review for their proposed project at the address listed below, which is 1857.1 and 1881 Middlesex Street. Applicant Hancock Associates and Steve Viatti. Project is a multifamily, requested 128 units. The zoning is SMU, which stands for Suburban Mixed Use, and the required review will be a site plan, which will be at a public hearing on a future date. So this time, it is on for a preliminary review, and this is what we call a comment section. This is not a public hearing, but however, if anybody's here want to speak on behalf of the site plan review, we do welcome and any input that we maybe get from any of the neighbors as well. So at this point in time, I'll turn the matter over to the applicants for the Middlesex Street project.
For the record, Mr. Chairman, James Flood, 81 Bridge Street, Lowell, Mass. I'll be representing the prospective developers when we go further, but just for the record, with me tonight, we get Steve Viatti and Jeff Miller, who are the 2 principals of Middlesex Partners Limited Partnership, who would be the developers. They've been working closely with Hancock Associates, and I'll turn it over to Joe Pesnola from Hancock to go over the project, and we'll be glad to answer any questions this board might have, and we'd be glad to take any suggestions that this board might have.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Joe Pesnola from Hancock Associates. This is a informal meeting to present the project to the board and try to get some feedback. The property is located at 1857 and 1881 Middlesex Street. It's the Bradford Industry site. It's an industrial site that's it's kind of hidden off the street in the back. The property does contain about 9.25 acres. Currently, access to the site is via an easement down on the easterly side of the property. We do not have the site doesn't enjoy the fee or ownership of that land. It's just an easement. Whether or not that was going to be adequate to service the 128 units was suspect. So the applicant has entered into an agreement to purchase 1881 Middlesex Street, which is an existing, I believe, a single-family home. That will be, the proposal is to raise that home and to develop the main site roadway access into the center portion of the site, and crossing an isolated pocket wetland back there and getting out into the site proper. The proposal does call for the construction of 4 32-unit buildings that will have parking under. We are proposing 288 spaces for the 128 units. There will be a community center involved in the project, and that will be located in the center. All the units are oriented perpendicular to the railroad to try to minimize the impact of the freight line, but also to allow the units to enjoy the views of the river. Again, they will be 4-story structures with parking under, so that there will be views developed for that. In the SMU, there is no height restriction. We will, through the development of this project, reduce the total impervious on site by almost an acre. And as you can see, each of the buildings is separated by some surface parking and some substantial green areas. We do meet all of the landscape requirements within the zoning ordinance, and won't be looking for any variances with regard to the project. We will need conservation approval for the wetlands crossing, where that isolated wetlands in the center of the site does have impact. But all of the units will be greater than 50 feet away from the wetlands. On the project team is Mr. Gary Lowe of Lowe Associates of Chestnut Hill. Mr. Lowe has developed some of these style buildings in the area, and I do have a rendering of the preliminary rendering of the building, and also a photograph of a similar building in Chelmsford, on the Chelmsford-Lowell line, a project called Wayside. So you can see there, it is a very unique and attractive architecturally styled building. And we, of course, will have plans and elevations for the board when we submit the formal application. Be happy to answer any questions the board might have on the project, but that's a brief summary of what we are proposing.
Anybody else here want to speak in favor of the application at this point in time? Anybody else here want to speak in favor? Favor? Anybody here want to speak against? Or have any comments or concerns? Anybody want to speak against, have any comments? Hearing none. The board have any questions? If not, I have a couple questions.
I have a couple, Mr. Chairman. That's a completely new access road? Or is that in the place where the existing one is?
Yes.
And you're going to widen it to city standard? I mean, I'm not sure of the length of it or what the requirement is there, but
It's
the current width and everything is totally inadequate for the traffic you're going to...
it's in a different location.
All right, that's what I was getting at.
Right, than the existing one. We understand the
So it's a
existing one
brand-new road.
is inadequate,
Yeah.
so this will be adequate for the proposed project, and we'll work with the city engineering department and your
Yeah,
board to
okay.
develop the standards for that. But right now, we're calling for a 24-foot wide, very suitable entrance, both from a safety standpoint in its location, coming out onto Middlesex, making sure it's not getting into the Wood Street traffic signal and the queuing for that, but also aesthetically, it'll be an appropriate entrance, landscaped and so forth for this. The other entrance seems to be in the side yard of one of the apartment buildings, and
Yeah,
it's inappropriate for a few reasons.
okay. Seems to me that maybe some plantings along the back edge of the railroad track,
Yes.
or some kind of barrier would be appropriate for
We're-
noise and safety if there's
Right,
be a
we're-
lot of kids around there.
We're thinking of several different options. We haven't finalized those. Either a berm with planting or a sound barrier type substantial fence along there, both for safety and noise attenuation.
Sure. My only other comment is that you provide some adequate open space, obviously, but that piece in the middle near the community center,
Yes.
do you have any specific ideas about what to do with that, or just gonna leave it open, or provide some, like a toddler area, or, things? I would encourage you to do that, because there's nothing around there, and,
There's
Busy area.
ample area for that.
Yeah.
I guess it's gonna be market driven.
Yeah,
There
okay, sure.
was some talk to, exactly what demographic will be attracted to this area, and that'll determine what the needs are for those. But of course, in some of the initial market analysis, we'll know that and plan for it. But a toddler or tot lot would be something appropriate.
okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Joe, any comments or concerns?
Just a couple. You mentioned, and I missed the comment about these buildings. Buildings similar to these located in Chelmsford now?
Yes, on Technology Drive.
Okay.
About right in the middle between Route 4 and Westford Street.
Right, right. How many units are up there, do you know?
There's 72 in 3 buildings. Those are 24-unit buildings. These will be 1 story taller, but the same 8 units on each floor. So same massing, if you will, the length and so forth. Little bit different stylings will be proposed. Mr. Lowe doesn't build the same building twice. So if you'll see on the proposed rendering of the 4-story building, there's a little bit more architectural arches over the 4th floor windows on the bump outs, and it's a clock tower rather than a cupola.
Okay. Do you anticipate there's going to be any decks off of these buildings?
The decks are, if you can see in the photo, the decks are integrated into the building itself. They don't stick out. They're built right into the project. So you can see those are decks.
Okay.
And on this one, they're right in there.
Each unit would have a,
Each unit would have some kind of an outside space accessed off the living space.
and you mentioned you're purchasing a single-family home that would be raised to gain access. Where would that be located as we're looking at the plan?
Right in the center here.
Right where your access road is?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
There's two houses along that stretch,
To the left.
broken up by, or flanked on either side by the condominium and apartment buildings, the brick buildings. It's one of those.
Now, you've noted some wetlands, I believe, where your access drive is on either side where I believe the trees are. But you've got some parking in that open space area as well, 14 plus 14. Is that the limit as to the amount, the maximum amount of parking you could get in that area? Or if you wanted to expand that a bit, would you have a little more
Oh, no,
room to do that?
we could, there's a lot of area down in here where we could expand parking if the need arises. The zoning ordinance requires 282 spaces, we're providing 288. But definitely, if there was a need by the association in the future, they could expand in that area. We're well within the max lot coverages and the FARs. And again, we're realizing a reduction of almost an acre of impervious. So,
Right.
from a drainage standpoint, I think we could expand that.
All right. And did I hear you say that the access drive you anticipate will be 24 feet wide? It's showing it as 20 on the plan.
That's what we're proposing right now, at 24 feet wide, which we feel is adequate, 2 12-foot lanes, obviously no parking on the drive, but would be open to both the boards and staff recommendations with regard to
Right.
that.
The plan, as it's shown now, says 20-foot wide access drive, so you'd be expanding that to 24, and as you go around, it'd be 24 all around the site?
Required is 20 for access to the parking spaces, so we'd be expanding the drive-in to 24, and then
And the rest would be
the
20?
rest would be 20.
Okay. On either side in your fire lane, that's how wide, 12 feet?
I believe the fire lane, either side, or,
As I'm looking at the plan to the left, I see a fire lane there, I believe it's 12 feet. Is that the same all the way around?
yes, 12 feet all the way around.
Okay, I have no other questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. I had a couple of questions. I think one of the first questions I had was the same as the two board members. When I went up and looked at that site on Saturday, I was trying to figure out how you were getting in there. Just to acclimate everybody who's wondering where this actually is, when you come past the Wood Street, be on your right, you go up a little further, then you do come to Bradford Industry, has apartments on the right first.
There's a sign there for
Says
Bradford
Bradford.
Industries at the first apartment building.
Right, and then there's a bunch of apartment complexes there.
Yes,
So I went in the back there, and looked around, and actually that's where your site would open up to in the back, correct?
yes,
Okay? And then, so when you come up Middlesex Street, if you're directly across from where your opening would be, I think that is Dingwell Street?
yeah. And
Okay.
Dingwell's one way
Yeah,
coming in.
and it says it right there one way, so basically, I was trying to figure out exactly where it was, because when I was running the numbers, to the left of your opening is 183 and 181, which is a two-family house, correct?
Right,
Okay, and to the right of that is a single family, the number was 1879. And in between there now, it appeared just to be a driveway. So basically what you're telling us now is that you were gonna purchase the two-family at 183 and 181, and that's gonna be your access way going in, correct?
188, I think it is.
1881?
1881.
1881 and 18, okay, I'm sorry, yeah, 1881 and 1883.
Yeah, it's the
Right.
two-family.
That's a two-family side by side, okay. So that'll be your access way, so, okay. Because I know when I was trying to find it, and then if you get out a little further, I think there's just a few houses in that front row. Then after that, you have a whole other set of apartment complexes on the right that opens up, and there's a good strip of them for a while, correct? Okay. Okay, because I was trying to find it, I had to turn around and come back once or twice, because I
Right.
couldn't figure the numbers when you go by it quickly, 'cause I couldn't find out how you were getting in to begin with.
Currently, the only legal frontage to the parcel is 15 feet, well, on the far westerly side of the property.
Okay.
And that's, we're not, they're not currently using that for access, and we're not proposing to use that.
So,
With the combination of the new lot and the Bradford lot, we will have a legal lot with ample frontage on Middlesex in the center.
could you run that by me again? The combination of,
We were putting the two lots together.
right,
The back lot and the Middlesex
the
Street.
purchase you're buying, right?
Duplex.
I got you, the two-family,
Right.
which will come down, and that'll be your entranceway.
It'll be the entrance, and it will also become our legal frontage.
Okay, so that is your frontage, okay, that was one of my questions, all right. My next question is, so approximately how long is the road in from Middlesex Street all the way till you go in, go past your wetlands area, till you come onto your project? What's the length of that,
Of 400 feet.
400 feet? And is that gonna be a private road?
It won't be, it will be just the access drive. It will not be.
So that's gonna be the access drive?
Right, it won't be a right-of-way, it won't be developed as a separate lot, it will be
Okay, so that will,
the access drive,
that will be maintained by the condo association?
absolutely.
Okay. And I know in the plan, I think you've said it already, I want to make sure I'm on board here. It's 20 feet there, but you're proposed to make it 28, I think you said.
24.
24, I'm sorry.
4, yeah.
24, okay. And not knowing what we will get when we do the public hearing with the fire apparatus, you think you're gonna have a problem with the 24 going 400
Yeah,
feet?
400 feet. That's-
You think that would be sufficient, or that's something that we're gonna have to
Well,
find out?
we do have still have the access, the easement on the easterly side of where Bradford Industries comes in right now.
Okay.
We don't want to use that for primary access, but it could be maintained either in a gated form or some form for emergency apparatus.
Can you show me where that easement is, if you would? Like,
Plan.
okay. Oh, so the entrance, that goes in where the sign says Bradford there?
Right.
You go in, the apartments are here, you go down, you take a little left, you take a little right, and you stop there, and that's where I looked and viewed the lot. That would be
Right.
the easement that you'd have access to as well?
Yes.
Which is right before where those, I don't know, some are single-family homes, some are two-family start, right?
Yes.
So right after that sign that says Bradford. Okay. One of the questions I think Joe touched on it was, you do have, you're looking at 128 units, and as you have now, you only have 6 additional parking spaces. So one of the concerns I'd have is if you could possibly pick up some more parking. Because if you're looking at 128 people, the odds of somebody having a visitor, if you only have 6 for 128 units, I think that could run tight.
It's been our experience with these type of projects that we need between 1.7 and 1.8 parking spaces per. So it's not always that every unit will use up 2 spaces and we only have 6 for visitors. There generally is additional visitor parking. The best way to handle that, I believe, would be to land bank an area, to show the board an area, show the board a layout, but don't build it. And have the board condition that if the need arises or that there's an obvious problem, that the association must build it. Then you're not creating impervious that has its environmental effects without that need in place.
Okay, because I'm just saying that's what Joe picked up, if you had the extra, 'cause it looks like you might have the room down there, where the 2 are now.
We definitely have the
So
room
I'm thinking,
for that.
you know, if you can fit it in there, it might be worth your while. Because I don't know, while I'm on that question here, I know you said you have to go to conservation, so that, and where would this snow removal go?
I think the snow removals will
Because you can't
go,
put that near the wetlands, right?
okay, the Conservation Commission won't let
They
us
frown
put
on
it
that.
in the wetland.
Not, I thought. So I'm just thinking, so that big footlands area is a no, right?
So it'll be strategic areas within our green space, within our landscape
A little on
areas.
the sides, a little bit in the back,
Right.
and some up where the parking is.
What we do is we integrate our landscape plan so that we open up areas, we plant them with salt tolerant plants and so forth, or ground cover that's not going to be adversely affected by the snow. And make it sensible as to where it logically should go, because it's difficult to designate it on a plan and then have that plan available to the plower at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
So,
Because I notice when you have so many buildings, they're not gonna really push it the whole length of the site. They're gonna try to,
they'll have
pick
to
it
be-
up.
Right. There'll have to be a management plan in place so that the residents are asked to move their cars from one place to another and they do the clearing. And that's commonplace in many condominium associations. A condo association of this size will almost definitely have a management company
Okay.
that does all the landscaping, does all the snow plow removal, and does any on-site maintenance that's required.
okay, so, thank you, I appreciate that. So since it's a private way going in, are you gonna have private trash pickup?
Is
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
that-
you have to-
yes.
That'll be part of the condo
Have to be,
association, Mr.
yes.
Flood?
Yeah, it should be.
And,
Trash will be inside the buildings, there'll be a trash room in each of the
So it'll
garages
be-
under the building.
okay, so your trucks will go inside and pick them up? Okay.
Similar like we did on East Merrimack Street, because
Oh, yeah,
it's
okay.
close proximity to the river,
Yeah.
it makes sense
Yeah.
to keep it inside.
Okay. And would you have your mail delivered inside or out by the street, or have you given that a thought yet, or you're up to whatever the postal department requests?
It's up to the postal department. It's, what we've done on previous buildings is each building has a mail area in the entry lobby.
So they'd
have-
actually come right in onto the site and go to each individual building lobby?
That would be the hope, but we
that'd
have,
be
we
the
have, we have to deal with what
The
the
hope for
post office
the
says.
hope for the tenants or the hope for the postal department? If not, sometimes, if you could set it up somewhere on that way coming in. I don't know, you know how we've done the mailboxes in the past, Mr. Flood, either when you come in to the right, or to the left, a lot of them are
Have an
keyed.
area, have an area set out for it,
Yeah, I don't know if you do it on the road, but once you come into the, usually you try to do it where that access way coming in would be, so it's an area, they can just drop it and make their, turn. I see, the traffic is gonna be basically two ways I see by you,
Yes.
okay? And you're not really, okay, am I reading that the fire lane is just in the back, so you're not gonna really want circulating traffic there, instead it'll be in between the buildings, or do you want it to loop around the back as well?
No, on the very far east,
The
far
very-
west, and against the rail.
Okay.
It's not envisioned that,
Okay,
that general traffic will be there, except at the terminus of the loops, here, and here, in between the buildings. That's where they'll loop back.
I do see that you have the arrows going both ways around those loops there, so just,
Right.
so you leave the back open there for emergency vehicles, okay? And, I mean, like you say with that easement to the far right, that could be another emergency access if need be. whether-
Maybe.
I know in the past, when we've had, something, even if it is gated, I know by the fire department in the past, you have no problem going down there with, one of the clipper things and just cut the lock for safety and get right in. I know Mr. Flood had one of those projects in the past, and the fire department had no problem doing that. They said, you put a lock on it, we have no problem breaking through, and that was, one of the things that the applicant said, yeah, we have no problem to do it for safety. We don't want other cars tracking through, but if the fire department requests that gate be put there, then they can obviously open that gate up for any emergency access, if they were coming in here, or if there was, you know, through the entranceway, as well as if they wanted to get to one of the back units. And I think there'd be an access. I know, Mr. Flood, we've addressed that before, and I know you had no problem with that for safety concerns of all the applicants. So usually, the fire department has no problem with that, if you want to consider that as another emergency access. Besides that, at this point in time, I have no further comment. Any of the boards have any other comments, or anything result that I've said?
No, I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Just one question regarding the units themselves. There'll be 32 in each of the 4 buildings, and you've got 4 stories. You're going to have 8 per floor, or they're going to be split up a certain way?
8 per floor.
Okay, and what are the size of the units approximately, do you know?
1450 to 1750?
2-bedroom or 3-bedroom? 2-bedroom?
2 bed. They're 2, aren't they? 3 and 2.
Something.
I just wanted to say something more. We've dealt with staff on this in the, in the planning, and we were hoping that maybe this would be an ideal spot for an over 55. The problem is, we don't know whether, if you declare it as over 55, the whole thing has to be over 55. So it is our hope in marketing that that's what we'd be able to sell, the people we'd be able to sell to, and that's why we feel that the parking is more than sufficient. But you never know what the market's gonna bring, but we thought it'd be an ideal spot for an over 55. So that was some of our thoughts initially.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
Time will tell, that's right, that's all you can mark.
I have
it
no other
further.
questions.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
so that was basically for our preliminary review. I don't believe we need to vote on that. I think you've heard our concerns, and we wish you well, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you at the
Good project.
public hearing.
Good project.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those, the pictures too, they're very helpful.
Yeah, they are. Charlie Bonds.
I believe that's our only pre-application matter on tonight. Under old business, we have a couple of things on our agenda. One of them being the update and administrative adjustment, 702 with 704 Gorham Street. The planning board will discuss an adjustment to this project, which was approved by the board back on December 12th, 2005. That's something, Jim, that you have, or do we have an applicant on for tonight's agenda?
I believe Ken Lania will be
Okay.
speaking on behalf of them.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Ken,
All right, Mr.
you
Chairman.
can introduce yourself first, please?
Yes, I will. Kenneth Lane at K&M Land Consultants, representing the applicant this evening, who is with me as well. Mr. Charlie Bond sitting behind me as we start. First, I'd like to just bring up some plans just to show you what we're hoping to change tonight.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just to refresh the board's memory on the project, we were before you seeking a special permit for the approval of 4 units on an existing parcel of land that has frontage on both Gorham Street and Butler Ave. The 4 units were to be constructed primarily with access from Butler Ave, with the remaining existing building having frontage on Gorham Street, remaining as it sits, and getting an upgraded parking area in the rear. I do have an old original set, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like to kind of get a look at what the original filing was.
I think we're all set so far.
Okay.
I think we're all set, Ken. If we have any questions, I think we'll pick you up from there, but.
All right,
I
great.
think the board's pretty familiar with it not being too long ago. Our memory's not too bad from December, but if we have any questions, we will let you know.
Great. Well, what we're hoping to do tonight, Mr. Chairman, is if you did recall, the rear building that you see on the color plan that I had presented this evening was originally turned and was facing Gorham Street, and it was in the landscaped area that now is shown there. What our goal here was tonight was to try and do some reduction in impervious surface to reduce the amount of drainage work that we would need to do. I have had a meeting with Steve Curran, the city engineer, to ask his approval of moving forward with these changes to the plan, and he has given us go-ahead to do so. He did say that he would just want me to provide him with sufficient drainage calculations to prove that the reduction in area could eliminate the drainage that was originally proposed, and he would be fine with signing off on the project. I haven't done that at this moment because I wanted to get feedback from the planning board to see if we could make this amendment change this evening. What we're hoping to do is we are still staying with the original concept of doing 4 units on the property. We tried to take a look at marketing the dwellings that were being proposed, and it was a concern of the applicants that the dwelling that was turned facing the parking lot of the bar that was next door to it could become an issue when they were trying to sell that unit. I don't know if you would recall, but in working with staff and the board during the approval process, we were trying to keep the garages from facing Butler Ave and placing the front of the building facing out onto Gorham Street. What we've done is taken a look at that. We feel as though with the market the way that it is now, it wouldn't be beneficial to the applicant to leave it in that location. We're trying to provide it a better view for the property, for that parcel. We believe that the garages shown in the front wouldn't have an effect on the Butler Ave view of the streetscape, as we do have most of the building that's being constructed now on Gorham Street to actually block the view down Butler Ave. You wouldn't actually see the building until you actually were on Butler Ave and viewing the first duplex that was up on the street. In addition, there was some comments that were left on the approval, which was to still maintain the fire access off of Pine Hill Street, which we would still provide for the planning board. We would reduce the impervious area on the parcel by 1,500 square feet, Mr. Chairman, which is a considerable amount of impervious area on a small lot of this size. And we would be able to provide that landscaping as shown in the green around the parcel. We would be providing the required parking spaces as necessary, with 2 garage underspaces and 2 open air spaces for each unit, so for a total of 8 spaces. And we'd like to ask the board if we could remedy the lighting plan by reducing the lights to just lights that were located on the buildings in a floodlight type situation. As we are eliminating the amount of space of impervious area, we believe that we can handle the lighting on site with wall packs on the buildings.
Ken, this is the
Yep.
parking lot that was right up there by Johnny's Bench, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, right.
I
Mr.
remember
Chairman.
clearly, yeah.
That
I
is
remember
correct.
it more clearly now when I put my finger on it that way. Okay.
And if you had an idea, if you can remember, that back duplex was actually where the green
Right.
space is.
I remember
And it
we
was-
spoke quite a bit on that, about which way we wanted to set them up. I know we
Exactly.
spent a lot of time talking about that access coming in from Pine Hill Street with
That's
the fire
correct.
department.
Yes.
I think, my memory serves me correctly, I think you might have been here twice on this, or you gave us 2 alternatives that night.
That is correct.
Okay, and I think both ways we looked at it, I think there was some concerns from the applicant as well as some other people, whether that'd be a cut-through there from the Pine Hill Street, and everybody who spoke was more concerned that they don't want the traffic cutting through there.
Exactly.
Cutting through that neighborhood.
Exactly.
I think we went on notice to indicate to the people who were present that night that we heard their concerns. We didn't want that to be cut through into their neighborhood as well, and that's why we did go along with the emergency fire access, which could be cut through, as I was speaking to Mr. Flood about another project a little while ago.
That is
I think
correct.
that's why you,
And there will be a gate there, Mr. Chairman.
I
That was
think we did
part
it up
of
because
the,
there was a request of the neighbors up there as well.
it was
and
a
I
part of the
believe
special permit.
You're,
correct.
and
And we would ask not to change that
I remember
condition
your
at all.
owners were very happy to take care of the neighbors in regards to that, and they have no problems about that, because they were very concerned with the neighbors, and they were trying to fulfill their request, if I remember correctly.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Ken, I appreciate that. At this time, any of the board members have any questions or concerns?
Just for comparison's sake, could I take a look
Yeah.
at that old plan just for a moment?
Yeah, I'd like to see that too. I have a question relative to that. Where is that?
I do remember this, I remember we came in and we talked
Is
about
this it here?
2 different ways of putting the buildings on. Right.
No, these are,
Just with a bridge,
See the building, pretty much what we did is we took the building and put it on.
So you're just reciting it and turning it this way.
oh, all right, yeah, okay.
You know, 'cause this is,
Yep.
and these buildings would actually be facing that parking area.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Questions on the new building?
No, that, I had the question relative to that as well.
Okay, so now that we remember what we approved, so basically it's just a turning of the 2 buildings. And the
Yeah.
ones up the front, units 1 and 2 will remain the same?
they will remain the
It's
same,
just
Mr.
the
Chairman.
rear 2 ones that we talked about, so
That
you
is
want to turn
correct.
them one way instead of the other way. Okay, so if I understand you correctly, Ken, your only request is that the drainage calculations be approved by the city engineer,
That is correct, sir.
and that we allow the lighting remedy to be what they put on for the wall packs.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Board members have any further questions or concerns? in
I have
regards to this?
No, I have none.
None? What's the wish of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we treat this matter as an administrative change to the previously approved special permit and allow the building to be recited as shown on the new plan, provided the applicant gets approval of the new drainage calculations by the city engineer, and also that we approve the change to the wall packs for the buildings.
I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made in second, and chair votes yes, therefore we vote 3-0 in favor.
Very good.
Thank you
Thank
very
you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate you coming down, and thank you for both sets of plans, Ken, it was helpful to look at them both. You have that? Jim, you have plenty of these?
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Next order of business, we have a bond release, which would be Caitlin Drive. The board will discuss the release of the bond and money owed to be held for Caitlin Drive. I think, Jim, you have an update on this for us?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, from my understanding, essentially what happened is this was we were going through some of our records from probably the late 90s, and we came across that we actually had a letter of credit, and it was for the Caitlin Drive. I think it was the engineer's office that actually came across this. And basically, it's just they've completed their work. We have as-built plans. The engineer's office has approved it all, and we just want to make sure that they get their money back as they were promised from the city.
So everything's been completed? I mean, everything's been completed up there, so now it's just request for the bond release?
Correct.
And Division of Planning and Development is satisfied, everything's been met?
Correct.
Okay. Can I have a motion to that effect, if need be, to release the bond?
I'll make a motion to release the remaining
second.
bond money.
Okay, the motion has been made and second, chair votes yes. Motion carries 3-0 to release the bond for Catherine Drive. Next matter we have on the agenda is under other business. We have the notices from abutting towns.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, before we move on,
I'm sorry.
I added a piece to the agenda for tonight,
Okay.
actually a couple pieces quickly for tonight. One is a bond reduction for West Meadow Estates for the Dean Drive. It was on the agenda for the one I printed out and put in front of you this evening. Basically, they're just looking to reduce the bond that they have currently to an amount that was approved by the city engineer's office. I have the spreadsheet here if you'd like to look at it. They're basically proposing, or they'd like to reduce it to the 16,000 remaining balance on the bond. I believe there's 25,000 right now in there. Judging by what the engineer's office has said, they just have some pretty simple, basic site work to finish. They need to put a stockade fence in, they need to do some basic ground cleanups, and provide as-built plans to the city. The engineer's office, this is what I received from the engineer's office as what they approved for the amount, so I'd just like to get the board's approval for reducing the bond to the $16,000 amount.
This is the West Meadow Estates Dean Drive bond worksheet that was given to us?
Correct.
Any of the board members have any questions on the request to reduce the bond down to $16,000?
I have no questions.
I have no question.
Questions?
I'd make that motion to reduce the bond as suggested by the engineer down to 16,000.
I'll second the motion.
Chair votes yes to reduce the bond, so that the vote will carry 3-0 to reduce the bond. Jim, you have another thing in our packet here, I'm sorry, on the...
Yes, we received a fax from O'Brien Construction. This is regarding the Julian Steel project.
Oh, yes.
They originally provided on their landscaping plan that they would provide, I'm not too familiar with landscaping, I'm not a landscape architect, so forgive me if I forget it. Basically, they're substituting one type of elm for another type of elm. If anybody's here, correct me if I'm wrong. We've had Diane Trad, our DPD design planner, review that. She seems to be okay with it. She said that's fine. From my understanding, the one type of elm that they were proposing, I guess there was a disease that went through that type of elm last year or the year before, so the local landscape companies weren't actually keeping them in stock, so they couldn't find it anywhere. So they're just proposing to replace it with a different type of elm. We had our DPD design planner review it. She seemed to be okay with it. She did the necessary research, and just wanted to let the board review that and just to keep you up to date with that and just give the proper approvals.
So what they're basically requesting is that we change it from Washington elm types of trees to prospect elms, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
So basically, they indicate that they looked at 4 area nurseries and could not find the Washington elms in those areas.
Correct.
And therefore, they request that we give them permission to change it to a prospect elm tree that they want to put on the site.
Correct.
Okay. And that's okay with Division Plan and Development with your
Correct.
landscape designer and everybody? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve that change as requested.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and second. Chair votes yes to approve the change of elms. That has been approved. Do we have anything else under other business before we get to budding towns?
No,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
We do have notices from budding towns. I believe everybody saw those in their packets. Any questions or concerns about the notices and what's going on in the surrounding cities or towns?
I have none.
Rich, any questions? or
Chairman, I'll
concerns?
make a motion to place these on file.
I'll second.
Motion made and second. The chair votes yes. And place the matters on file. Vote carries 3-0. Next matter, we have general correspondences. Anybody have anything in the packet they want to speak about in general correspondences?
No.
No, okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to the zoning board of appeal recommendations for their legal notices. I believe the zoning board of appeals, meeting is scheduled for May 22nd at 6:30 PM. And this chambers here have 3 matters on. The first one is for Herb Builders for 2 Bradley Street, a variance from a single-family area. It is to convert an existing 3-family dwelling to a 2-family and maintain the same with insufficient lot area per dwelling per dwelling unit and front yard setback. Mr. Flood, this the matter we talked about a little while ago. Do you want to be heard on this before we vote?
Would you like to be heard, Mr. Flood?
Any questions you want to bring?
You want to say something tonight?
You heard enough from me.
Okay.
Yes, we have.
I know we have just a little, we have 2 things in the packet. in regards to this. One, which was when we saw the plan on the A&R that we had a few minutes ago that we addressed, and the other one being, which is on to recommend to the Board of Appeals. As you can see, I think there's two things that's needed. One is the setback. The setback now is 15.3, so that's 15.3 feet from the street. What they need in that area is 25, so they're short on that. What they say is that they don't have enough sufficient lot area per dwelling. What it is up there, it's 10,000 square feet, well, actually a little bit over, 10,057 square feet, which is enough for the S1 area. However, I know it's a 3-story now, so if they want to change the 3-story, they would request them to reduce it down to a 2, but since it's in the suburban single-family zone, therefore, they have the 10,000 square feet for one house, but in the land dwelling unit under the code, which comes in on page 59 of our zoning book, indicates that they would need another 10,000 square feet to put in the 2 units. So what they would need would be double the amount of land now for that variance, if I'm reading it correctly. I believe basically comes up under our zoning code.
Because it's in a single family
Yeah, what happens is,
zone.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's again,
What, the section?
I got it under SSF, which is a single-family zone, suburban single-family.
Excuse me.
Okay, let me pull it up again.
5.1.
Right. But
5.1.
okay, the SSF, it says the minimum lot area is 10,000. Now, the minimum lot area per dwelling is 10,000. So if they want a 2-family, they need 20,000. Am I reading that correctly?
Correct.
Okay. I had to go to my chart to make sure, because I know sometimes either type.
There's nothing that can be done about the setback, because it's
Right.
there. So
I know the setback is there now and it's existing. If anybody's familiar with this area, basically it's, once you take a left on the first street,
Okay.
you take a right, and there it is, it's the big yellow house up
Big yellow
there.
house.
It's, I only have one question, maybe you can answer this, Mr. Flood. When I drove up there on Saturday, is that a driveway that goes all the way back to the other street, or is that an open public way?
I really can't.
'Cause I drove up it-
There's another street on the side.
Yeah, I know, but when you go, I know that, but when you look at the house, and to the left,
That's a driveway. I think that's a driveway, yes.
That's a driveway.
That shows on the
and
assessors
that
map.
cuts all the way up and comes out on Christian Street.
Right.
Okay. And then basically, so this whole lot here, between Christian, Bradley, and East Durand, is all the proposed property in the A&R, except for that very back left corner lot, right?
Correct.
Okay. And I believe if people have been up there, I think the sign says, for sale Daigle, I think is the one who's selling it. The sign's on there, there's 2 of them.
Yeah,
Two
that's-
signs up there, one saying sale pending, the other one
right,
says for
you're right.
sale.
Yeah,
Right.
you're right.
So, but I know, so when you take the left off the VFW, you take your first right, and that's the yellow, long-story house.
That's
this way.
Bradley Street, right there.
So, it's before us to recommend whether we feel they should be entitled to that variance, which we only recommend to the Board of Appeals. So basically, they, as indicated, the question is, they need an extra 10,000 square feet to put in to make it a 2-unit building for the minimum lot area dwelling unit under the existing code. What's the recommendation of the board?
Well, Mr. Chairman, as I look at this matter with the endorsement we gave on the A&R plan this evening, you'll have 5 lots. It's a single-family area. He'll be building single-family dwellings, at least on the other 4 lots. I'd like to see them all maintained as single families. I think the applicant indicated that if he didn't get a variance, he would probably be converting it to a single family, and that would probably be my preference. So I would recommend to the Board of Appeals not to approve it as a 2-family and to maintain it as a single family. That'd be my recommendation and motion.
That's a motion on the table. Rich, do you?
I'll second the motion,
Okay.
yeah.
The motion is made that we make a recommendation to the zoning board of appeals to deny this request for the variance. The vote is 2-0. I vote in favor of denial, so our recommendation will be 3-0 to not allow the variance. Thank you. The next matter on our agenda is, under zoning board of appeals legal notices, is Thorndike Place LLC, which is 115 S Highland Street. They're looking for a variance. This is in a TMF, which stands for Traditional Multifamily Area. Petition to construct a single family on an undersized lot. Basically, this is right on Thorndike Street. If you are at the YMCA and you come out on YMCA Drive and look directly across to your right,
right.
that's that street there that goes up and over. By reading the plan, they're shot 239 feet. What they have, I think, is, what is it? They have 4,500 square feet, and they have on their plan 4,261 square feet. So basically, that's what they shot. It is what we call a corner lot, because it has frontage on Thorndike and South Highland Street. So basically, they do not have a rear yard. What they have under that zoning is 2 side yards, and they do meet the requirements for the side yard setback on the 2 areas. Let's see. If you look at the inside our packet, they also show where the house will be located. They're also indicating where it says lot 115, they're gonna put a deck off to the left. If you go up there now, all the route is, I think there were a total of 5 cars on that lot now. 4 cars in working condition, and 1 with the windows all shattered out. It's a small lot, but basically, in that neighborhood, all those houses are small, so the neighbors, I believe, or somebody up in that lot are using it now for parking. But basically, the requirement is that he's off, as I indicated, 239 square feet. So he needs the total, he needed 4,500 square feet, he has 4,261. He meets the frontage, meets the side yard. He has driveway proposed for 2 parking spots. It's a little tight because it's right on the corner of South Highland and Thorndike, but he would be backing out to South Highland Street and not Thorndike. That'd be my main concern because of all the traffic up there. But the parking is a little close to the driveway to Thorndike Street. If he could move it over a little bit, it might be easier for him getting in and out, but besides that, the only thing they've shot is that square footage.
And Mr. Chairman, as we look at it, this property is in a TMF zone. He noted on the plan the minimum lot size being 4,500. He's showing 4,261. I think the assessor has it at 43 some odd, so he's just a bit off there. With the change in the zoning in this area, going from 2,500 to 4,000, 4,000 for 1 unit. He's proposing 1 unit here. I don't have any problem with the minimal amount that he's off in the lot area, so I'd recommend that we recommend approval of this matter.
I'll second your motion.
Motion's been favored, made in second. I vote yes. The vote is 3-0 in favor to recommend to the Board of Appeals. The last matter we have on is Valios Platis, at 1 Salem Street for variance at UMU, which is urban mixed use. Petition to construct a mixed-use building with insufficient parking, floor area ratio, side yard setback, usable open space, and size of parking space provided. So he shot the parking spaces, the floor ratio area, the side yard, usable open space, and the parking spaces provided. And this is, it says 1 Salem Street. I believe it's on the corner of Salem and Cabot.
Yeah. This lot's only 2,000 square feet.
I believe if you look at it, it's a building now that is a vacant building, That's, used to, it used to be Michael's Snack Bar.
Oh, right there.
Yeah. Well, I looked at it, I saw this Michael's Snack Bar, it looks like it's closed. If, like I say, it's on the corner of Cabot and Salem, if you go on to Cabot, the property that abuts it in the rear is the Rainbow Calf. If you go by the Michael's Snack Bar heading up Salem, I think you, to the left, you have, it looks like some housing project, which is 11 Salem Street, in that area in there. Basically, one of the concerns is they don't have any parking. It's a
Parking at all.
retail store there now. Yeah, basically, they gave us, on the plan, since they're looking at a mixed use, because they want to put in, I think, they requested, they want to rebuild the storefront, and they want to put in, the previous building had 2 storefronts and 2 apartments. We want to build 1 storefront and 2 apartments.
Seems a little ambitious for this site. The requirement for anything up there would be 3,400 square feet. He's got a little over 2,000. He needs 6 or 7 variances. He has no parking, wants to put 2 residences and a storefront. It just seems a little tight.
A little ambitious, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like on the map that we have given to us, we do have the zoning chart for the retail and the zoning chart for the residential, because it's gonna be a mixed use. And it looks like by this, he has what's required up there, and he has what he's shot, on the proposal. So under the residential, he has shot the side yard, the rear yard, the floor area ratio, the usable open space, the parking spaces. It looks like the parking spaces have to be 9 by 18 feet, and he has none. In the zoning chart for business retail, he is off by the floor ratio, and he's requesting that the parking there is 9 by 18, and he's proposing to put in an 8 by 18, and he said he would have 1 space per 900 square feet, which would give him 2 parking spaces. So that would give him the variances, because he has a mixed use, so he does have variances under both requests, whether under the business as well as the residential, since it comes in under consideration of both, because he wants to put in the 1-store retail and the 2nd-story residential. The only other note we have is that back in May of 2000, relief was granted to rebuild the property, which was by the zoning board of appeals, which was, this matter's going back before. But I don't know if that expired or if they didn't act on it timely. Like that of us a new set of plans.
To rebuild the
Yeah.
property to what?
Yeah, it could have been a different set of plans, I don't
Yeah.
know. It doesn't
Mr.
say so.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to recommend denial of this matter as it's proposed.
I'll second.
Motion's been made in second, and the chair goes along with that recommendation, so we recommend the denial, so the vote is 3-0. Recommend against. Okay. That completes recommendations to the zoning board of appeals. At this point in time, we have further comments from the planning board members. Any of the planning board members have any further comment?
Have none, Mr. Chairman?
None? Jim, anything from the planning and development that we should be aware of that's coming up at this point? Are we good? Anything else?
Mr.
Do you have
Chairman?
any comments from us?
No, not at this point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Therefore, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Move in second, the chair votes yes, we hereby adjourn. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.